I'm Little John.
And I'm John.
And together we're Papa and Son Garage. Hey, what's up guys? Doing a 2011 Dodge Journey Radiator, oil cooler, and right front wheel bearing. So radiator is underneath the front clip. So instead of it being in a normal support area, it is under the clip. So I got to pull the whole front clip to gain access to the radiator. May have to evac the AC. You got a series of clips holding the bumper. They go on the wheel well as well inside here. There's going to be some underneath. There's probably even in some screws in this area and through the grill. So I'm just going to kind of roll here and there on this particular job just to give you like kind of the heads up. So bumper assembly's got to come off again for the radiator. Oil cooler is right up here. It's under the intake manifold. So I got to pull the upper intake manifold and lower intake manifold to gain access to the oil cooler. That's leaking as well. And then the right front wheel bearing, obviously the tire has to come off, and we'll have to pull the whole hub apart and replace that wheel bearing. So again, we'll roll a little bit here and there on that and kind of give you guys the gist of everything that's going on. Okay guys, as you can see, we got the bumper cover off. Then we took and got the bumper support bar taken off. You got 4 bolts on each side and then one 8mm screw on each side. Okay. What's next is the transmission cooler. I'm going to go ahead and get that out of the way. You got 2 little C-clips right here that comes off. There's a tool that pushes inside there and helps you release that. Or you can take a little pick and remove that C-clip right there. Pretty simple and easy. Okay. Also, the radiator drain plug is actually right here. A big Phillips screwdriver will do that, or a larger regular screwdriver. Don't try a small one because you will strip it. Loosen that up. Make sure you got your bucket underneath, and then you can pull your cap off and drain it. I've already went ahead and drained it. It's actually drained because it's got a blown radiator. So that's taken care of. So my next step is getting the transmission cooler out of the way. Then I gotta get to the condenser. I'm hoping that I can just swing that condenser out of the way enough so I don't have to mess with the AC. If I can't swing it out of the way enough, I will have to evac it and then recharge it. But I'm trying to save myself a little time by not having to. So wish me luck on that. Also, power steering cooler right here. I'll probably undo that just to kind of get it swinging out of the way. It may not be necessary. So we'll go from there and I'll let you know if I did actually have to move it.
Alright guys, so I got the wheel off and the I forgot the name of it.
Brake rotor.
Yeah, the rotor off.
Well, how did you get the rotor off though?
I had to pull the caliper off first. And
Caliper, then after the caliper you did what?
Took the rotor off. It's
nope.
What? What?
We're getting them. What is that?
The bracket.
Brake caliper, bracket, and brake pads.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so he did the brake caliper, then he took the brake caliper, bracket, and pads off. Then he did the rotor. Now what do you got to do?
There's 4 bolts back here, and I need to pull those off to be able to.
2 on each side.
Yeah, to be able to access this spot. And then I need to take this nut off and it should be there.
Okay. Looks like he's cracking away. He's doing pretty good at it.
Okay, it's wrong.
Okay guys, I got the radiator out. As you can see, this thing is trashed. So in this bottom corner right here, it's blown up, it's cracked or something on the core on the side here. I mean, I haven't looked at it incredibly good, but when I tip it to that side, it's sitting there leaking. So we knew that it was for surely leaking anyway, because this thing, what had happened is she was driving and started smoking. She said it started smoking, which was the antifreeze leaking all over everything, spraying all over everything. steaming up and causing the issue. Obviously it ran out of coolant, the engine overheated, so they did have a warranty on the vehicle. They sent it out to get it warrantied, and they did the head gaskets on it, the dealer did. Here's the funny thing is they wouldn't cover the radiator under the warranty. So they had a couple other things that needed to be done. This radiator, the wheel bearing, and then the oil cooler, as I explained earlier. Dealer quoted him a little over $2,000 to do it. He called me up and asked me what it would cost him, and I gave him a quote. Quote came out to a little over $1,000 for me to do it for him. So obviously he's saving $1,000. He is getting still a good job done. Again, if you're just catching up with us, I am a master certified tech, so they are getting a good job done here. Now, as far as the radiator goes, I picked up a Murray locally at O'Reilly. I buy a lot of my parts locally when I'm doing a customer's job, because if there's a warranty issue, I can deal with it locally. If I bought my parts online like Amazon and that, which is a great place to buy your parts because it's good cost, and you can find good name brands as well. But for doing a customer's job and them wanting to have any kind of peace of mind, I buy all my stuff locally. The Murray radiator comes actually with a lifetime warranty, so if they had an issue, I mean, I don't cover the labor unless it's something to do with my craftsmanship. Unless I cause the problem, then I'll cover it. Labor or the warranty, the radiator will get warranted. Because I do have a commercial account, I'm able to go and ask O'Reilly to submit a claim and see if they'll cover any kind of labor. And if they do cover labor for me, I'll give that customer that discount off of what it would cost. So I go out of my way to try to help my customers out and take care of them real good. So real quick, the radiator goes in just like so. There's a snap clip here and a snap clip on this side. You squeeze them and the radiator tilts forward and out. So it comes, as you can see, the front of the vehicle is right here, so the radiator tilts forward and comes out. Okay. The lower radiator hose is really hard to get at. So what I did is there's a clamp over here, and I undid that hose so that it would come through and pull through. And then I undid the clamp on this side and left the hose in between the core support so that I can just get it on easy. So when I put the radiator back in, I'll have to slide this hose on and put that clamp on, and then put the radiator and snap it in. I did get away with pulling the radiator without having to pull the condenser and do a evac of the AC system. So we're in good shape there. We're about to set the radiator back in, and again it just kind of snaps right into place. There's a clip on each side. The one on the right side is a little tricky to get at. I was able to just kind of pop it off using a long pry bar instead of having to pull the air box and everything to get it out. So that's kind of where we're at. Alright guys, I had to step in, give John a hand on this bearing. These things get stuck pretty good, so it was rusted in there. Wheel bearing, you know, sits on like so. Take a BFH. Coming from this angle, I smack pretty damn hard on that spindle. Okay, right here in the hub assembly, right there in the hub assembly, it gets pretty rusted. So what John's going to do is he's going to take some sandpaper, clean that up real good before he goes back together. What I had to do to get it apart once I knocked it loose is I had to get a chisel in there and knock my chisel in so it start pressing that out. And I had to do it on both sides and then underneath and kind of all around. You don't want to just keep continuing from one side and try driving it out crooked, because you can actually crack and split that hub assembly. That's the last thing you want to do. Those things are pricey. Hub assemblies are several $100s, $200, $300, $400, and then you even fight what's available. So on the top side here, I buggered it up a little bit. This is actually normal. Don't be alarmed, don't be scared, don't be worried, whatever. Just need to take a little file to it. If you don't have a file, I mean, you can take some sandpaper to it, but you're going to be there for a little while. I guess if you don't have a file, you probably shouldn't be doing a big job like this either. So, long story short, find a way to smooth that out. If you, whatever way you've got to do it, file, very gritty sandpaper, whatever. But we'll do it with file. So John's going to clean that all up. Then he's going to take and put it back together. So before we go back together, I'm going to have him put anti-seize, just a real thin coat on that. So here in a little bit, he'll look like the Tin Man. Also put some anti-seize on the axle itself. Keep them from seizing together, obviously. It's definition of anti-seize. So that's what he's got going on. He's going to start going back together with that and go from there. Okay, we got the radiator back in. It's all snapped in and in good condition here. So I got the tranny cooler line snapped back in. When you put your cooler on, just put your bolts in finger tight and then work your lines in, because you'll need to wiggle them around and get them to snap in. Okay. The one thing I didn't mention earlier, and I'm trying to think of what the hell that was. And right over here, let me see your light. Right down here, where the AC condenser lines connect, there's a 10mm bolt that runs through that into the radiator. So you will need to undo that. You can barely see it right there.
Yeah, you can barely see the
The light's too much. So if you can barely see that, there's
right there.
you need to get that out before you actually slide that radiator forward. So I did space off on that part. Okay, so moving forward, I'm moving into the intake. As you can see, what I've done here is I've undone the air box. I've slid this back. So one thing I'm finding is the dealer probably wasn't too happy about not getting a few services on this thing, so they just kind of slapped it together. We got a few broken components on it, which I'm not saying the dealer did this, because that does look pretty old. But whoever's had it apart before, maybe when somebody did a tune-up on it or something, they broke it. This wasn't even mounted, so back here, if you see them little ball slot dilly whoppers, this particular piece has some rubber grommets that snaps into it. You can't see them from that angle, but you'll know what I'm talking about. So that'll need to just be popped off. So the one reason I did stop too is I noticed on the back side here of the intake, all the way over here, they didn't even put any nuts on the back side here. So guys, you know, I understand as a flat rate tech, as a tech period, when you get denied a service, it's frustrating, and so you just want to slap things together. But you know, personally, even no matter how upset I was at a service being denied, I still did quality work, and I still put everything back together like I should have put it back together, regardless. Okay, so missing nuts here. I've also found some broken clips and some other broken things, which, you know, could have been anybody at this point in time. I mean, it is 2011, so. But, you know, come on, guys, take a little pride in your work and make sure you put everything back together right, regardless if you're denied a service. It's just the right thing to do as a technician. And so I'll get this intake manifold off and then show you from there. I'll get the upper and then we'll step to the lower. Alright folks, I got the upper intake manifold off. So what we got is a series of bolts here. So you got okay, 2 bolts here, bolt here, bolt here, bolt here, bolt here, bolt here, bolt here. Or actually just here. So you got 2, 4, 6, 7 bolts holding that thing on. They're 8mm bolts. Same with the lower intake manifold. You'll need to do your fuel injection clips. So these particular clips, that red, it's a lock clip. So you got to slide it up, and then you press right here to release and pull them up. Okay, so your fuel injectors, fuel line, you just squeeze your clip here, pull your fuel line off. That is under pressure. Set a rag on top of that so it doesn't blow up in your face. Okay. Same with the rear fuel injectors. Sometimes they're stuck pretty good. You can get a little screwdriver and kind of help yourself, or a pick, and help slide them up. Now we got 2, 4, 6, 8. Is it 8? Yeah, 8 bolts holding that lower intake manifold on. Okay, now we can remove that. I've already pulled those bolts out. I'm going to set that aside. Okay, now we've got, here's the oil cooler slash oil filter housing. Okay, looks like we got Torx bits that hold them. They're going to be an E bit. See if I can get a little light on there so you can see it a little better. Somewhat. So I apologize, guys. Our camera kind of sucks. We just bought what we could afford. So anyway, they're Torx bits. Looks like 4 or 5 bits on there. Okay, you got a few connectors, a few hoses that's attached to it, and then that will be off. Okay, it's probably going to leave a little bit of a mess in there, being how oil filter housing and coolant housing, or gosh dang, stupid, I can't spit it out. Oil cooler. So oil cooler has coolant that runs through it, so it'll make a bit of a mess once I undo everything. So be prepared for that, and kind of get it apart and then show you what it looks like. We'll get it cleaned up and then get it back together. So overall, it's not too bad of a job. Alright guys, I got the oil cooler off. So oil cooler's down here in the drain bucket here. It makes a hell of a mess when you take it off, so have something prepared. Okay. Oil cooler down in the valley here. It's been leaking for a little while. It had the valley completely filled up. So you want to get that up and out fairly quick, or else you can fill up your cooling system side of that. You got a coolant hose that goes to it, and then it's going to have a coolant down into the block. So you got a few oil O-rings that seal it off, as well as here. Okay, so as you can see, I've cleaned out probably the best I'm going to get. I'll stick a rag down in there and a screwdriver and kind of poke at it a little bit more, but it takes quite a bit. So here's what I got. I actually pulled that out of the valley, so use yourself a little turkey baster. Pick it up from All a Dollar or wherever the dollar store is. Walmart, I don't care what you pay for it, but All a Dollar has them and they're cheap, so why would you want to ruin a perfectly nice one? Other than that, John's got his hub ready, and I'll let him tell you about it.
So I filed the inside of here, I sanded down the inside of here so that the next wheel bearing can go on smoothly instead of having to struggle. Yeah, and then right here where the bugger was, I filed that down to where it was nice and level with the rest of the surface, and throw some NICs on here in a minute, and then get it installed.
Slap the new wheel bearing in. So the wheel bearing on these is a hub assembly, wheel bearing slash hub. So
you might be able to hear the bearing, but this is what it sounds like. I doubt you can hear that, but
he'll run himself with some NICs. He'll look like the Tin Man here in a few minutes. Okay, I got the new not intercooler. What a dumbass. Alright, got the new oil cooler installed. The torque on it, you should probably look it up and torque it down. I don't. I just go by hand and however I feel. So I'm going to go back together with it. I'm going to throw the lower intake manifold on. Now, the cooler kit that I bought just come with cooler and the seals for it. There's a kit out there that has intake manifold gaskets and everything with it. I didn't worry about it this time because it just literally came from the dealer to my house and they did all the new intake manifold gaskets, so I wasn't concerned about that part. So But if you're gonna do it on your own, go ahead and get that kit. It's well worth it. It's only, I think, 40 bucks more or something like that. So go that route. That way you have everything you need to do it. And buy yourself a can of brake clean. Again, the little cheesy turkey baster, little bucket, so you can suck out all the oil in the valley. If you leave that oil in the valley, it's going to smoke forever. It will take ages to bake that off, so you'll regret it. Suck that out, dry it out, get yourself a roll of paper towel. I don't care, however you want to do it, just make sure you clean it out. Also, the brake clean, so you nice clean rags. That way you can wipe off all your gasket surfaces, clean them off. I've just wiped them right now. I'm going to go ahead and spray some brake clean on a rag and clean it the rest of the way. And then throw that intake manifold on it. Then I'll throw the upper intake manifold on it and button things up. I'll put some nuts on where they left off. And then we'll come back to the front end, get the front end on. I left that off just for convenience, just because, you know, I can get in here a heck of a lot easier. So it was actually quite nice doing that service on that oil cooler with having the bumper still off. So after I get the intake on again and go back, and we'll throw the bumper on. We'll throw some coolant in it, fire it up. He's about done with his bearing here. So as you can see, hub / bearing assembly is back on. He's getting ready to hammer that nut down. There's torque on that. Again, guys, there's torque on everything. Most mechanics don't follow that. We just have a good feel for what it should be. So anyway, he's about ready to torque that down and tighten it up, and then throw that back together, and we'll throw a tire on it. We're about done for a night. So we've had a pretty good night with this, and it's went pretty smooth, luckily. So
it's a heck of a lot easier than the Honda Pilot.
yeah, that one's been a nightmare. The heads are off on that. It's off to the machine shop getting the heads built. So we'll get that back in the garage after this one's out. So moving on to, and then back to his car after all these are done and gone. So by then we should have the right gears and everything for it. Alright, I got the engine all buttoned back up, intake's on, covers back on. I had to fix a few different problems. They left a few bolts out here and there. They left some wiring just hanging. This is flat rate mentality is what it was. So anyway, wheel bearing's all done. That's all back together. Now we're just going to get ready and throw the bumper cover back on. After the bumper cover's on, we'll be able to fill her full of antifreeze. Then we'll run her, make sure she's running good, warm her up, and make sure the fans kick on, and then all that. So this project is just about done. We will run a little short clip after we've got it fired up and running, and call it good from there. Okay guys, so we got an issue. We got cylinder number 5's misfiring. Just gonna double check anything that I got. It says actually coil. It's a coil code. So I didn't do anything with coils or anything like that, but not exactly. I'm gonna have to look at this. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 should be that back bank over there. If I'm looking at it right, not 100% on the firing order on this, but I'm gonna try to get up in there and see if I can figure out if the coil's unplugged or not. It looks like it probably is. Grab me a screwdriver.
Phillips or
regular. Grab me a pry bar, actually, one of our. Moved. Could very well be. Okay, so with Dodge, you actually have to shut the vehicle off, clear the codes. Even though I found number 5 coil unplugged, you still have to shut the car off, clear the codes. Now you have to do this with a good scan tool. I have a snap-on scan tool. I cleared the code, fired it back up, and that resets the computer. Dodge is that way. So most vehicles, you can just clear the code even with it running, and it'll reset it and get it back to mode. However, Dodge, no, you have to shut it off, you have to clear it, and then restart it, and it sees that it's working right again. So now you can tell it's running a lot smoother and a lot cleaner. We'll just wait for the fans to kick on and make sure it's good to go. Make sure it's not leaking or anything like that as well. Alright, and that's it for this project. Watch us for the next projects or upcoming projects, and hit like and subscribe. Thanks.
If you like what you see, hit like and subscribe, and turn on post notifications to get notified on upcoming videos.